Welcome back, AllyCats. And if you're not an AllyCat, subscribe. Become one. AllyCat. Become an AllyCat. Become a part of our kitty litter. Ew, no. Do you guys want to be called the kitty litter? Because I don't think I should call you guys that. I mean, it's kind of catchy though. What do you think? Become a part of our family and like this video, share it with your friends and family so they can become AllyCats too. And let's just get into this video. This is a different video from what I usually post. I think I'm already visibly uncomfortable, so if that's not obvious. This video is my weight journey, my weight loss journey. See, I can't call it a weight loss journey because my weight's gone up and down and all around. There will be some sensitive topics discussed in this video, and I will be giving a trigger warning before I start to discuss anything like that. Or I'll give you a timestamp to skip over to. Okay, let's get into this. In the last few years, I gained some weight. My voice went up really high. In the last few years, I have gained some weight, and I've lost some weight, and I've gained some weight, and I've lost some weight. Ugh. I figured I should just share with you guys my whole journey. So I want to start by talking about my childhood. I was a pretty normal sized kid. I'll have some pictures up. I wasn't overweight or underweight, or I was very average. And I was like that for like 9 years. At around 9-10 years old, I started to gain some weight. It was nothing crazy. It came at a time where some not so great things were happening in my life. Trigger warning. At around 9-10-ish years old is when sexual abuse started. And it went on until I was almost 13 by my uncle. So during this time, I was obviously under a massive amount of stress, and stress can definitely cause weight gain. There are scientific links to weight gain from stress. I do know that I was a very stressed out, anxious kid. This is also when I was physically starting to develop too. I developed early. I started wearing a bra at 10, like literally bought my first bra on my 10th birthday. And I was, a little developed before that, but then like from 10, I developed so quickly. And what I mean by developed is developed breasts. And so did hips. My body started changing at like 9, 10. And so I started to be noticed by men. And being catcalled at 10 years old makes you very uncomfortable and unsure of your own body and want to hide inside of your own body, especially when you're also being abused. I was continuously gaining weight in these years from 10 to 13 years old and beyond. It was a steady gain from 10 years old to 18. It started off with the abuse, but then it was PTSD and depression and anxiety all combined with that. Trying my best to cope with it and still dealing with it for so many years, and I'm still dealing with it. Like, I'm still in therapy, even in quarantine. My therapist calls me, and I'm thankful for that. I think when you go through something like that, you deal with it forever. So I don't think I'm ever going to stop dealing with it. But so when I started noticing my weight gain in those years of abuse, I did start to get very self-conscious. I was very aware of my body because it was changing too, and it was being abused and catcalled and everything. So I was hyper aware of my body and how I looked. I'm tall, by the way. I'm 5'9". Through all of my early years, I knew nothing about nutrition. I had no idea how to eat healthy, what healthy eating was, what unhealthy eating was. I had no context. I had no idea. Let's go into my teen years. Let's go from 14 to 18. I had horrible anxiety, social anxiety, really bad depression, panic attacks. I'd had suicidal thoughts from the age of 11. So mental illness and mental health has always been an issue for me. I went to high school for 1 year, ninth grade. 10th through graduation, I was homeschooled. I had the same teachers that I would have had in school, but they were grading my work online. So when I graduated, I was able to graduate and walk with my actual class that I had grown up with. I did become a vegetarian finally at the age of 15, and I had no idea how to eat as a vegetarian. I didn't know how to eat healthy as a meat eater, and I didn't know how to eat healthy as a vegetarian. I really didn't know what that. I just knew, okay, you don't eat meat. So what do you eat? I ate pizza, cheese-related everything, and potatoes galore. Like sometimes my dinner would be 3 big baked potatoes, like large. I would microwave them and smash it all on a plate, just one big ass plate. And then I would cover that in butter, melt the butter in the microwave, bring it back out, cover it in cheese, stick it back in the microwave, melt the cheese, take it back out, cover it again with another layer of butter and salt and pepper like crazy over top of it. And like that would be a meal for me. I went vegetarian, gained a ton of weight. At 15, 16, 17, that's when I was getting to the obese category and stayed in the obese category. I was 18 when I hit my highest weight of 258 pounds. This was my last year of high school. I had one more PE, physical education requirement. I refused to go inside of the school to do it because, I was terrified. I still had to get the requirement done. So I had to join an outside gym. And I wanted to join a gym that my mom would join too because I was terrified to be anywhere without her. She was like my rock, and so her and I decided to join the gym called Curves. Honestly, mostly older women would go and work out in there. But it did feel like a very safe environment because it was all women and it was all older women. And that's what really sparked my weight loss journey. I saved all of the papers. Like every month they would weigh you and measure you, which was horrible anxiety for me every month. But as I started to lose weight, it became extremely exciting and motivating to see how much fat I lost because they would test your body fat. How much smaller my measurements got. And of course the weight. The number on the scale goes down, the measurements start getting smaller, my body fat starts becoming less. Oh my God, like it was an amazing feeling. So from that point on, I was like, I'm doing this. Like that's what really sparked it for me, that I wanted to actually do this. At this point I was 18 and I decided enough of this. I've wasted so many years of my life hiding inside of myself and being at the weight that I was and so uncomfortable with my body. That was keeping me down even further into my anxious little hole. I decided I had enough of it. I was going to change my life, and it was starting right in that moment. It wasn't going to start on Monday. It wasn't going to start on the first of the next month. Like, no. It starts today, and I was determined. So I really took exercise seriously at that point and started to try to understand food better too. So starting my weight loss journey. This is when things start to get a little happier and start turning around. Finally! I read up about calories and how to be in a calorie deficit and how to figure out how many calories you're intaking every day. So what I did was I bought a notebook. I wrote down the times and what I ate at those times of the day, every day. And I did that for a week. Breakfast, I ate at 11 a.m. or something, and this is what I ate. I was keeping very loose track, so these numbers aren't the most accurate. At the end of the week, I averaged out my daily intake, and I figured out that I was taking in, I think it was like 2,200, but honestly, I'm sure that was way below what it actually was because I wasn't being very accurate with it, but whatever. Don't take this as actual advice. Please don't. Discuss this with your doctor before you start any diet plan. I'm not trying to give out advice here. Lower your initial calories by 500. And then when you plateau and you've stopped losing weight, lower it again by 300. It was something like that. So that's what I did. So I lowered my calories from 2,200 to 1,800. So I didn't do 500. I just didn't like the number 1,700. I would make sure that that's where I stopped every day. But while I was doing this, I also started working out very seriously. And I started working out from home. And I would work out 2 hours every morning and then 2 hours at night. I would do cardio and strength training and just a full body workout, and I gave myself 2 rest days a week. I definitely started losing weight. I'll start putting the images up. I don't have exact times and numbers. I think I was 19 when I entered Wonderland, when I got out of the 200s. And I remember that my mom and I celebrated the day. Like, she took me out to eat, but she took me like out shopping to get some new clothes, and we went out to eat and a movie. And that's just one of my best memories, is her support of me, and she was working out with me the whole time too. So like, her and I were losing weight together, and we just had the most hilarious workouts together. Like, we would make the dumbest faces and do the dumbest things to make each other laugh while we were working out. I kept doing this. At one point I did plateau. I stopped losing weight, and so I dropped my calories further, and I dropped it from 1,800 calories to 1,500. So I dropped it to 300. At 1,500 calories, I was still working out like crazy every day. So at 20, I was 180 pounds. But yeah, I was 184 when I met my boyfriend, and he's still my boyfriend of today, Steve. He's my first boyfriend. A lot of firsts happened at 20 years old. Having a boyfriend really motivated me. It kind of panicked me in a way. Like, I started to fall for him, and I fell fast. And we were just in the clouds of that early young love life. And this is the first time I had a boyfriend, and I was just thinking to myself, I have to keep him. Even though he met me at 184 and still loved me, not that anyone should base that on weight anyways, but like, in my mind I was thinking, oh, but if I was like tiny, it's been a lifetime struggle to accept that that's not my body. That's not gonna happen. But like, even if I lose weight, I'm gonna be curvy. I have natural bone curves. I don't know how else to say it. Like, having a boyfriend motivated me in that way. I was scared to lose him. Still had a whole bunch of mental stuff that I was dealing with, still all the depression and anxiety and stuff. Like, that's lifelong. Having a boyfriend, I had kind of just developed different anxieties, like, of losing him. I thought, to keep him, I need to lose weight, and I need to really start losing weight. I went from 1,500 calories to 1,200. I did this about halfway to 21. I decided, okay, I gotta like really lose some weight, so I dropped it to 1,200. In that year of being 20, I had stopped doing like the 4-hour workouts. Especially with lowering your calories, I was lowering my energy, and I couldn't do 4-hour workouts. I was still working out daily, but I would do an hour every morning, and which is a much more normal amount to work out, but I was doing like an hour daily, 5 days a week. So I'm 21. I wish I could still say that, but I know by the time I was, like, I had actually reached 21, that I was down to like 150 something, like 155-ish. 20 to 21, I went from 184 to 150, let's say. This next year is where it gets a little rough. I'm going to put up another trigger warning because I'm going to discuss eating disorders. 21 to 23. These were a couple rough years, and where my weight loss journey went from, trying to get healthy and lose weight. It went from that mindset to being scared to lose someone and constantly think that I'm not good enough for them. And by the way, he has nothing to do with all of these horrible things that were going on in my own mind. He's seen me through many different weights now, and he's always supportive and loving towards me, and he doesn't judge me in that way. So it was never like him making me feel like I wasn't good enough for him based on my weight or anything else. Just wanted to throw that out there. This was my own like sick mind at this point. So from 21 to 23, I'm eating 1,200 calories. I'm like 150. I still look at myself in the mirror and see someone that's obese. I can't look at myself and see all of the progress I've made. See how my body's changed. I can't see it. I see everything that I still want to change. Stomach fat, and arm fat, and thigh fat, and back fat. I just saw the fat that I wanted to change, and I thought to myself, I need to eat less than 1,200 calories because I wanted to lose weight, and I had stopped losing weight. Like, I had completely plateaued. This is where the eating disorder starts. I started to drop my calories, and anytime I was around Steve, my boyfriend, anytime I was around him, I felt uncomfortable eating. In my mind, if I ate in front of him, I would look fat in front of him. So like going out to eat, I did like that typical salad life. I acted for 2 years like I wasn't hungry. I should win a fucking Oscar for that. Like, where's my Oscar? I would eat out with him, his friends, his family, and I would act like I couldn't clear my plate. Bitch, I can clear a plate. I can clear many plates. I could clear a plate right now. But back then, I would act like I was some frail little thing. Oh, I can't eat all this salad. Oh, I'm so full. Like, I acted like that. Like, what the fuck? And by the way, if you are that way naturally, I'm not saying anything against you, and I'm so sorry that that sounded like I was mocking you, because I would never do that. I just knew that it wasn't right for me and that I was acting. His family and everyone got to know me as like, oh, she eats like a bird. Like, I heard that so many times, and I'm just sitting here thinking like, oh, I want a whole gallon of French fries. So bad. Give me a whole fucking cake. I'll shove my face in it. I was so hungry. In front of him, I wouldn't eat. And like every weekend, he lived at home with like his family. And I lived at home with my family. And this is our early 20s. We just couldn't afford places on our own at this point. So every weekend, I would go over to his place. And I wouldn't eat barely anything. And that's when I started to take advantage of that time. And I would just start like not eating when I was over there. So like for a whole weekend at a time, counting my calories, I was counting them to like 1,000, and then it would go to 800, and then it went to 600, and then it went to 400, and some days under 300. And I would pride myself on eating less than like 600 calories in a day. I loved seeing that low number on the app. And at this point, I was using my Net Diary. That's the app that I used for a couple years at that point. I was getting to the point where I was priding myself on eating like less than 400 calories. And if I saw like, oh, I ate 358 calories today. Pretty good. Pretty good. Look at that. You can see every single rib. I would be looking in the mirror constantly. And not in a vain way either. Like, not in a, ooh, look at me. I would be staring in the mirror and sucking in as hard as possible. Like, pretty much doing like a stomach vacuum, like sucking in my stomach and making it really concave. And I was able to count every single rib, and I was very happy about that. And I started to count bones. Like, I loved having protruding collarbones, the bones in my shoulders, my arms being bony, my knees being more pronounced, my hip bones poking out. Like, I loved when Steve would say to me, ow, you're poking me with your hip bone. Like, I loved hearing that I was bony. It would excite me. This was very unhealthy. The bonier I got, the more like I felt like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. But I would still look in the mirror and like let out my stomach from being sucked in, and I would see skin at this point. It wasn't fat, but I had extra skin from losing over 100 pounds. Like, I lost 120 pounds to 5'9", 134. That was my smallest. It was not good enough. I was looking in the mirror and honestly, not fat. I was seeing skin. Hanging skin, a lot of skin under my arms, on my thighs, on my stomach especially. I had the most skin around my stomach, which made it look like a pouch, like a lower stomach fat. But it wasn't. It was just skin, and I can't get rid of it. But in my mind, I wasn't even thinking of it that way. I wasn't thinking, oh, I have this skin I can't get rid of. In my mind, I was looking at it and thinking of fat and how I just needed to eat even less to get rid of it. I was never diagnosed as like anorexic. I was never fully diagnosed as bulimic. So I can't really say like I was this, I was that. Like, I'm not a professional, but those were my disordered thoughts. This is when the next type of disorder starts. I'm going to backtrack a little bit so you have some context. At around 18 years old, I developed a condition called GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disorder? I'm gonna have it on the screen. Be like really bad heartburn, continuous heartburn. That's typically what it is, but for me, it affected me with food that I was eating. And at 18, I actually initially lost some weight from this condition, unfortunately, out of my own hands, but I started to have my food come back up after I ate it. I would start to feel sick, feel fullness in my throat. I would start to feel nauseous. My head would start kind of like spinning, and I would start to feel sick. And then I'd have to go to the bathroom and food would come back up and pretty much like undigested. It would just come right back up. They diagnosed me with GERD, told me to take a medication, but I didn't take it. I didn't have health insurance and I didn't want to pay for the medication. I kind of altered my diet to kind of work with it, because certain foods would definitely cause me to puke, but other foods wouldn't. I had difficulties with this condition and still do to this day. I'm on a medication for it now, and I do have health insurance now, and I'm able to not puke. I'm able to keep my food down and not deal with that issue, thankfully. When I was 21-ish, back to the 21 to 23 years, I was taking in very little calories, but I started to crave food uncontrollably because I was just so hungry. And I started to give in to these cravings. But then I would feel extreme guilt. And usually the foods that I would crave are the foods that would make me just naturally, because of my condition, would make me puke. I started to take advantage of it. Not many people know this about me, so family, friends, hello. Hey boy. You know, if I was over at Steve's house and I had like that 400 calories for the day, I would sneak up in the middle of the night sometimes while he was asleep and his family was asleep. I would sneak up. His family always kept like Hostess snacks. So I would sneak up into the kitchen and eat like Swiss cake rolls and the Christmas tree treats, like that type of stuff. And then I would feel extreme guilt, like immediately. I would feel heavy and guilty and just disgusting. And these foods also just didn't sit well with me. They wouldn't stay down anyways. So I started to feel sick. I would feel all my normal symptoms, unfortunately, and then I would just go in the bathroom, and I was doing this at this point, and you know, I got down to that lowest weight. I had lost a ton of muscle, and during this time, I couldn't do anything. I was not doing anything. I couldn't function. I would go grocery shopping with my mom every week to help her out. I started to not be able to do that because I couldn't walk around the store without feeling extreme dizziness and sometimes like blacking out. Like I would start blacking out completely. This fuzziness would start coming across my vision until it was just nothing but fuzz and blackness, and then I would just be like, boop. This would happen in the shower a lot. Like I couldn't stand up in the shower anymore because I was just so dizzy. So I would sit on the shower floor to be able to take a shower. Yeah, it was just really bad. I think I'll go more into details in another video, but it was bad. Everyone around me noticed. They all noticed me fainting all the time and not eating enough. They were like, you're not doing this anymore. There was kind of like an intervention to be like, nope, we're watching everything you eat from now on. We're going to make sure you're eating enough. I agreed, and I raised my calories back up to 1,200 calories. This was in 2012. So yeah, 22. Obviously, raising my calories from like the 400 I was eating up to 1,200. Calories in, calories out. I gained weight. I wasn't putting out any more calories because I was so weak still, and I had to build up so much muscle that I had lost and everything, so I wasn't really working out at this point. It wasn't anything drastic. I went back up to like the 150s-ish, like 140, 150, which was, you know, I started to feel energy again, which was nice. This is when another difficult year happens. So it's 2013. And 2013 changed everything. This was the year that my mom was diagnosed with kidney cancer. 2 weeks after she was diagnosed, she had to get surgery and remove her right kidney because the cancer had overtaken her kidney. It's also spread up into her lungs. This will be a whole other video, so I'm not going to go too deep into this topic. It's still a really hard one for me to talk about. This is when I started to really gain some weight again. I was stressed, I was depressed, I was scared, shitless actually, for my mom. I was terrified for her. She was this massive force to be reckoned with. There was no messing with my mom. She was a very tough woman. And it was very hard to see her scared. I wasn't used to that. It just felt like a very out of control situation too, because I couldn't stop the cancer. I couldn't stop it from happening. Whew, shit. I'm gonna ruin my makeup. I started to eat my feelings again. It's always a go-to for me when I'm upset. I get very hungry. Certain foods, you eat them and maybe some endorphins are released or something. I honestly don't know. I just know that, like, I'll eat something and it makes me feel better for a moment. And even if it was just that moment, I was so unhappy and scared and anxious that one moment of happiness was all I had. Or at least that's what it felt like. In March of 2015, my mom died of kidney cancer. It had spread to her lungs, then it spread to her brain, and then it spread to her bones. Once it spread to her bones, was a pretty quick downfall. She was admitted into hospice, and I went there right away, and I stayed there every day, and I wouldn't leave the building. Not until the last day. She was there a week before she passed away. I was 25. I wasn't ready. I miss her so much. So I ended up having a bit of a breakdown there. So this is like 2 days later. Hi. I haven't talked much about my mom, and when I do, I usually break down, so I should have known. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and move on, and we're going to move into the next year. 2015 was just full of grief, honestly. And I did gain weight from emotional eating during that year. I would say at this time I was probably around the 160s area. So we're going to go from the ages of 25 to now, which is 30. Like, I'm 30. So at like 25, I would have been like in the 160s. I would have gained weight to about there. Let's move into the next year. So 2016. My mom passed in March 2nd of 2015. And I was in a really bad car accident March 7th of 2016. So almost an exact year later, I was in this accident with my boyfriend. He was driving, I was a passenger. I'm not going to go into detail about the car accident, but like, we weren't at fault. It was the other driver. She was in a truck with no seatbelt on, so she got messed up and hit us in an intersection. I instinctively put my foot down to brake, and when I did that, because of the impact of the accident, I broke a bone in my ankle. Now, all in all, our injuries were mild compared to what could have happened, and I'm thankful for that. But what happened after the accident kind of made things worse. At this time, I worked at Sephora, and I worked as a makeup artist, and I was on my feet for hours. I damaged like ligaments, and I had a small bone that broke off in my ankle. But from this damage, I developed a rare condition, and it's called CRPS. This is chronic regional pain syndrome. Pretty much what this means is that I get chronic nerve pains, and the nerve pains at this point were unbearable. I was trying to figure out like what medication to be on, and just going to specialist, and obviously in the meantime, I'm not working out, obviously. I was not eating right. I was stressed, of course. In 2016, I probably would have gone from the 160s to maybe 170 at the highest at this year. I ended up on crutches and in different ankle braces. I was in a walking boot for months. I had to go through months of physical therapy. It's a whole story on its own. Because of this, I didn't work out for a very long time. I lost any muscle I would have built. I was eating my feelings. Still in grief, too, by the way. Like, still heavy in grief. It was just a shit show, honestly. It was a horrible shit show. I stopped working, and I was on short-term disability that was extended for like a year and a half through Sephora until they told me that I was involuntarily quitting, I think is how it was put, because they couldn't extend my short-term disability any longer. It was just like, it's done. And that was February of 2018. At that point, I had gotten on to the right medication. I won't go into the whole talk of the medications because, but I was on the right medication now. Certain nerve pains had subsided enough for me to be able to try and find work again that I could physically do because I was taken off of my feet. I couldn't go back to Sephora. I couldn't work on my feet again, and I couldn't be a makeup artist. Like, I couldn't stand on my feet for more than like an hour at a time at that point for like, I would say over 2 years. Any standing job was like, that wasn't gonna happen. So I knew that I had to find a sedentary job. I had to just figure something out, and what I figured out to do was to become a pharmacy technician and to do data entry only. This was a facility where I could sit and be sedentary all day long, my whole shift, and just sit there and type in orders. Obviously very different from my passion and what I love to do and how I love to be creative, but I was thankful to have a job again. It made me feel useful. It made me feel like I had purpose. I was working towards something. I became a licensed pharmacy technician, and it felt good to have something again. I met great people that I still love and talk to, and I'm so thankful that I was able to work there and meet these people. But I gained weight at this job. I gained I would say almost 20 pounds working there, and I worked there a year. The environment being so sedentary is like the first thing. Like, you're sitting all day. You were allowed to snack at your desk, and I snacked. I kept snacks in my desk drawer. Almost everyone had a freaking snack drawer. And I found that I was falling asleep while working. And when I would eat, I wasn't falling asleep, and I could stay focused on my job. So I would eat random shit just to stay awake enough to do this monotonous work. It wasn't challenging my mind. It wasn't challenging my passions, my creativity. It wasn't tapping into anything in my mind that would keep me focused. And besides that, people were very sweet, and they would bring in snacks all the time for people. They would bring in donuts and cookies, and people would bake stuff and just leave it in the lunchroom for everyone to grab. The company itself would give you food, and so there was just a lot of food around. So I'm seeing donuts, I'm gonna fucking eat a donut. I'm gonna eat one. What do you want from me? It's there. I smell it, I see it. I smell it, I see it, I want it, I eat it. I want it, I eat it. I want it, I eat it. Yo. Let's fast forward a year, and it's 2019. I've gained 20 pounds, so at this point I'm in the 190s. It had been years. It had been at least 8 years since I had been in the 190s. I felt defeated. I felt like I just backtracked so many years. I lost so much progress. It felt bad, man. In this time, I was pushing myself like crazy to start working out again. So I was working out, and I was pushing myself on my ankle constantly. At first, it was just walks. And at first it was short walks, but I would make sure to do it every single day. I was taking my walks every day, even if my ankle kind of was sore. I was pushing it. I was pushing my ankle. I was building up strength in my legs. I was strength training like crazy. I wanted to build up strength in my ankle. And I did. I got to the point where it's 2019 and I can stand on my feet for hours again. I went to Cedar Point with my friend in an amusement park and stand on my feet for hours. And that kind of opened my eyes. I was like, wait a minute. If I can stand on my feet again, I can do makeup again. I'm gonna do makeup again. And one day I sat down with my boyfriend and I'm like, I'm unhappy. Not the career I wanted. This job does nothing for me, my heart, my mind, and I want to be a makeup artist. I've always wanted to be a makeup artist. That's my passion. It's my dream. Are you gonna support me if I quit this job and I open my own business? I will work as hard as I can to build my name up, to build my reputation up, to build up clientele. It's gonna be rough. I'll probably lose money. I did lose money. And and he said yes, that he would. Thankfully. I'm impulsive. So when I want something and something's on my mind, I do it almost right away. I'm like, so I went in and I quit. I gave my 2 weeks. I didn't just leave. I ended up opening my own business. My business is AllyCat Artistry, LLC. I've been working as a makeup artist ever since. Obviously, opening your own business is stressful. I feel like the common theme in my life has been just stress. But I was finally doing something that I loved again. I finally had passion and drive and motivation again. And this sparked drive for me to lose weight too. I was more active, I was going on more walks, I was working out more. After leaving Omnicare, I wasn't snacking like that, so I instantly lost weight leaving there. I'd gone from the 190s to the 180s. That was last year. Fast forward to this year. You all know what's going on this year. Early in this year, I was very hopeful. I was thinking, okay, this is the year for my business. I had a rough year last year. I lost a ton of money, but I'm like, okay, I got that first year out of the way. This year, we're gonna start going up. Even if it's the tiniest bit of profit, I'm gonna make a profit, okay? I'm doing this. And also another amazing thing happened where my friend and I, both makeup artists, decided we're gonna go in business together. Yeah. She's one of my best friends. And we're like, let's do this. Let's combine forces, combine businesses. We're gonna be on top. We're thinking, we were going for it, until this happened. That slowed things down a little bit. Obviously, we're not an essential worker and we're not gonna be working right now, so I'm not. I'm along with everyone else, so I can't say this is just me. Obviously it's a horrible situation, and so many people are out of work right now, and if they're not out of work, they're an essential worker, and they're being put out there to be exposed to the virus. But being stuck in the house and not being able to talk to my therapist face to face anymore, with being terrified about friends and family and just the world, worrying about what the new normal's gonna be, my anxiety levels have skyrocketed. And I've gone back into a depression. Yeah, I've had some panic attacks again, which haven't happened in, a while. Depression, suicidal thoughts again. Not to just gloss over this stuff, but it's a heavy topic, I felt really out of control, and unfortunately, eating disordered thoughts have started popping back in my head frequently. And I've kind of gone back in a little bit. It's not full blown like it was before. I've unfortunately purged a few times, and the days that I don't, it's on my mind, and I hate that. That's something I'm working through with my therapist. I consciously know and understand that I don't want to do this, that it's not going to change how much control I have over what's happening out in the world. Like, logically, I understand that it's horrible to do, and like, I don't want to do it. I'm taking the steps, I'm doing what I can and what I know to do. I can't give an exact weight because I'm not weighing myself. Because of these thoughts coming in, I especially will not weigh myself right now. If I start weighing myself and I start seeing the numbers dropping on the scale, unfortunately for me, in my mind, I will instantly want to eat less and less and less. If I see the numbers on the scale, like weight numbers especially, are very triggering for me. They instantly make me want to starve myself so I can see even bigger numbers being lost. It just immediately goes into a landslide of disordered thoughts. So for me, that's why right now I'm not going to be like, this is how much I weigh, because I actually don't even know how much I weigh at this point. I hate that I'm ending this weight loss journey video with you on a negative note. I don't think that's very usual for weight loss journey videos. I think most of them end off happy. It's like, oh, look how much weight I lost. Yay! My story is a little different. I'm focusing my energy on YouTube right now and also working out. I want to be strong. I don't want to lose muscle. I want to build muscle. This is not what I want for myself. So I'm just going to keep repeating that. I'm going to remain positive, eat healthy, and try not to be so hard on myself. Thank you so much for sitting here through this, I'm sure, a very long video. I'm sorry about it. But thank you. If you sat and watched through the whole thing, like, dude, I love you. Stay with me. I'm gonna do more videos like this where I'm just sitting here and spewing out my soul to you. And if you want to spew your soul at me too, we can just take turns spewing souls, okay? And if you want to stick around, I would love that. I would love for you to become an AllyCat and subscribe. Please like this video so that I know that you actually like this type of content and you want me to do more videos like this where it's just sit down, deep talks like this. Hit that notification bell so you know when I post. I usually post every Friday. Just thank you for watching. I love you guys. Bye!